Hello, everyone. This is Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister, the Disrupt Meister. Welcome to This Week in Bitcoin. Oh, yeah. Today is December the 7th, 2018. Strong hand, long-term thinking, deferral of gratification, unconfiscatable. One Bitcoin equals one Bitcoin. Personal responsibility is a new counterculture. And most important, be in motion. And the thing is, these three guests that I have on today, not only are they from the west side of North America, and I'm also in Los Angeles right now this week, but all of these guys are like super in motion. They all work in the Bitcoin industry, okay? They've all got real jobs in the Bitcoin industry. For all those people saying it's crypto winter and bear this and bear that, oh no, this is the time of opportunity. And that is what they're all going to be. We're going to be talking about what they're all doing. And I'm just pumped up. So anyway, you know BTC Benny. You know Christian also. He's been on the show before. Anders, you might not know him. He is in LA. If you're in LA, though, he's done the Century City meetup. So if you've been to the meetup, you've seen Anders around. So it's really awesome to have Anders on today, making his debut on the show. So let's start off with Benny. What's going on? You've been traveling around your part of Canada, and you've been doing very positive things. But what are you? People are bugging me about this fiat price thing. So what's your take? What's going
on the price right now? Honestly, this just seems like what we've seen before. I mean, Bitcoin's volatile. It's gonna go up and down like crazy. You know, you saw the mania in 2017, and everybody thought it was gonna go on forever. And you know, you get a ton of people that start FOMOing in, which, I mean, it happens to the best of us. That's kind of how I got my start in Bitcoin, right? That's a lot of people, but I'm starting to notice now the people that are still here, the people that have sat out the year and rode the price down, and they're still here and still learning. Those are the ones that are going to be here for either a very long time or forever. And I think it looks to me exactly like more or less 2014, 2015. You know, we're getting this long kind of drawn out bear market, and that's fine because last time around, that was probably one of the greatest opportunities I've ever had. And I'm glad to see it again a little bit. I know some people might not be super glad to see it again, but I am. And I'm here. I've got my strong hands.
Yeah, this is a weed out time of the year, I guess. I want to read this quote, and it is linked to below. And by the way, all of these guys' Twitters are linked to below. Check out the notes section below, always, of course. This is from Val Lust. He's a good dude in Florida. He says, Bitcoin's extreme bull and extreme bear markets are a feature, not a bug. Now, of course, he's talking in terms of fiat, and for me, I just always think one Bitcoin equals one Bitcoin. But people do see bull and bear markets in terms of fiat, and yeah, the extreme. I like that quote a lot. The extreme markets are a feature, not a bug. So, Christian, I want to hear your take because you weren't around for the last bear market. You're relatively. I mean, you're a super duper young guy. You were like in high school back then, so I don't know. But what's going on with you?
Man, I wish I was forward thinking enough in high school to get in.
Yeah, I mean, hey, high schoolers, if you're watching this, it's a great opportunity. But what are you hearing up in San Francisco? You're in the belly of the freaking beast, for God's sakes.
So I was at the QuantStamp offices. So by the way, I work for a Bitcoin magazine, so I'm constantly talking to other companies in the space. And they were joking around, like one of the guys who works in the space is like, who's buying at these prices? And I'm thinking in my head, like, who's not buying at these prices? So for the most part, I always kind of preach, don't put yourself in position to get wrecked. If it goes down 90%, is that going to screw you over for your rent this month? If the answer is yes, like you're doing it wrong. But as long as you're kind of put in your position to be exposed to Bitcoin in the long term, history has shown that has been a favorable position. So I'm not worried. I keep looking for those lows and setting my limit orders, and that's it.
All right. So it's no crypto winter for you. It's a time of opportunity. And again, he's working for a company in the space, and he's been working for a company in the space. So I mean, life is going on. If Bitcoin is not all about fiat price drops, okay? It's about the technology too. And Anders, what's your take on what's going on here? Speaking of technology, you're muted. Unmute yourself.
There we go. All right. So a lot of things are going on. Well, first of all, anything I say, I work in Bitcoin IRA. Anything I say obviously is not financial advice. It's just my personal opinion, and it may easily be wrong and everything. So don't listen to me. But if you look at all these people calling it the crypto winter because the price is down, I agree that people are looking at it wrong, because you shouldn't look at something as in it's a bad, like what you're buying is worth less because the price is down. I mean, you got to look at what are you actually buying. How has the tech developed since December last year? And when we look at Bitcoin and seeing Lightning has been rolled out, is functioning. There's, I think, almost 500 Bitcoin in the Lightning network. So that second layer solution is happening and being rolled out. Lots of other privacy things are on the way. So I think that it's more like Bitcoin summer in terms of technology, and that's important to remember. So if the price is low, it just means you're getting more value for your money now.
Good point. And again, people, it is the opportunity is out. The tech people are still working. They're still developing awesome things on top of Bitcoin. But I mean, we don't really, you don't hear about it all the time because people are fixated on price related things. Now before I say pound that like button, because you all should pound that like button right now, I want to stick with Anders on here. And I don't know, do you have any thoughts on this fiat aspect of it? The ETF got delayed again. I mean, to me, it's so obvious it's going to keep on getting delayed for as much as they can delay it. But one day it's going to happen. Do you have thoughts on?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're asking. I think that since Winklevoss ETF, the first one, I believe it was, got rejected in March 2017, and it was a big disappointment. I think most people realized, or they should have realized, that okay, so we probably won't see an ETF approval anytime soon. So these 50 applications for an ETF, since then, I think it's been something that you couldn't really expect to be approved. And we're at a stage where who cares? But once it will be approved, and when it does get approved, it will be a big bonus. But right now, I can't see that having a negative effect when it gets rejected, because it's really business as usual.
Yeah. Now, before I ask Christian about the ETF, as I'm sure he's got some thoughts on that, I want to read Andy Anderson sent $5 in the super chat. Thank you, dude. He says, "Hi, Adam. I feel better when I'm buying Bitcoin, so I keep buying Bitcoin. If buying Bitcoin is wrong, I don't want to be right." Oh, dude, Andy, that's a good one. Thank you for the $5. Colonel Swan Jr. sent $5 also, and he says, "There is nothing wrong with Bitcoin itself. There is only something wrong when people manipulate the fiat price to influence other people to sell." Well, yeah, there are weak, and I don't know if people are manipulating the fiat price. We can talk about that. But definitely these fiat price, when people start yelling and screaming about it, it does create some weak hands out there. And I wouldn't be surprised if there are people out there, there are traders out there who want to spread the FUD so they can get it for cheap. Yeah, of course. So, Christian, your thoughts on the ETF rejection or anything?
To be honest, I don't really have anything, super insightful to say about the ETF. It's going to happen eventually. Be patient, guys. It took thousands of years for gold to get an ETF. It's going to get an ETF. It's just a matter of people getting comfortable. You literally have SEC commissioners commenting on this every single day. If you don't see the progress, I don't know what to tell you. There's massive progress being made. This stuff takes time.
Yeah, again, you said be patient. So many people don't get that. There are so many impulsive people. They want it now. They want everything now. Defer gratification. Benny, you're a guy that can defer gratification. Any ETF thoughts, or has it just been played out? But I want to reassure people.
Yeah, I wasn't particularly surprised to see it delayed again. I mean, it's just more of the same. Government and regulators, they work slow, and they're basing their moves on where Bitcoin was years ago, and it's hard to make those changes in time with the technology as it grows and adapts. And so it's always going to be a game of catch up when it comes to government and regulators trying to figure out what to do with this kind of technology. But again, it will be an eventuality. It's going to happen at some point. And when it does, it just means an additional on-ramp for certain people. My hope is that we can take this time to further emphasize why it's a good idea to hold your own keys. I'm sure there's a lot of traditional investors that will go the ETF route when it's available. But myself, I like teaching people to hold their own keys, not your keys, not your Bitcoin. So I think the more we can emphasize that to newcomers, the better.
Yes. So let's stick with this subject matter, because you mentioned on-ramps, and Coinbase is a big on-ramp. And I looked at it the other day, and the people who are going to go on that on-ramp, they're going to buy altcoins a lot of the times, because there's really no differentiation between Bitcoin and the rest on there. Now, you are involved in a project that is going to compete with Bitcoin, compete with Coinbase, but be like totally hardcore Bitcoin. So what is going on in Alberta? Just spread the word. Tell the word.
Yeah. So I recently was contacted by Francis Pouliot, incredibly intelligent man. He's huge in the Bitcoin scene. He's all over Twitter, and if you haven't seen any of his talks, you need to go look him up and see what he's been up to. Very smart guy. He contacted me and asked me to work for him, to help with content creation and social media and education and all of that. And so he presented to me a project called Bull Bitcoin. And the idea is we want to be the anti-Coinbase, the anti-BitPay, the anti-blockchain.info. We want to be Bitcoin maximalists that only focus all of our resources on Bitcoin. We will never touch an altcoin. Never. We're not going near them. And we want to build on-ramps, off-ramps. Francis owns a service called Bills, BYLLS.com, and it allows Canadians to pay more or less any bill online with Bitcoin without having to have a bank account, even if the biller does not accept Bitcoin. So you can pay your phone bill, your mortgage, anything like that. And he's also building software infrastructure so that people can be less reliant on the APIs of Coinbase and BitPay. Because when SegWit2x was an issue and they were trying to push that and fork Bitcoin to a different set of developers, people were really at the mercy of Coinbase and BitPay, and they didn't realize it because they had built out a lot of the back-end infrastructure that you needed in order to actually run Bitcoin as a merchant. And Francis knew this because of running bills. He wanted to accept UASF coins, and he didn't realize how difficult that would be without using their APIs. And so he turned around and he built what needed to be built. And now next time that comes around, it's going to be so much easier. It's called Cipher and it puts power back in the hands of individuals and small businesses so that they don't have to rely on infrastructure built by Coinbase and BitPay. So basically, we're all around Bitcoin maximalists, allowing people to get in easily and spend it and run software. And we're going to have some fun video. I'm really excited to make some content for this.
Whoa, this is big news, and I'm glad you're talking about. We're going to have Francis on the show in a few days, hopefully, and everyone, people who are familiar with the This Week in Bitcoin show, they know Francis. They remember the last time he was on when Ty Zen was on also. Oh, what a show. Check out the archives below, techvault.com, pound that like button. Christian, what are your thoughts on that? Do you have any questions for Benny? I forgot to say, panelists, you can ask each other questions all the time, of course.
Benny, huge fan in general. Glad that we're actually meeting here on Adam's panel. But I love it. I don't know if you guys saw, but Bitcoin Magazine actually just went full BTC as well. So I think we're going to be the only media outlet that is only catering to BTC news. I know we were already one of the top with a lot of the Aaron Van Woerden posts, but we're going all in on BTC from leadership all the way down. And then just to kind of talk about owning your own keys. Funny, working at a Bitcoin company, everyone like knows Bitcoin and messes with crypto and stuff like that. But my boss was buying crypto on Circle Invest, which is like their Coinbase competitor. And they don't let you take out the money. They only let you get exposure to the crypto without actually withdrawing the keys to your own personal wallet. So Circle Invest does not let you own your own keys. So if that's something that you want, a feature that's important to you, stay away from Circle Invest. In general, it's just amazing to see Bitcoin's infrastructure getting built out despite all the venture capital going the other direction. I think it's really incredible. And, if Coinbase was in a position of power last year, that is not the case anymore. Again, being in the cryptocurrency media space, I have a pretty nice view into the entire spaces like businesses. And there are so many freaking exchanges being brought up everywhere. Everyone's building an exchange. Everyone is going to be competing with Coinbase. Everyone's trying to get those APIs that people build their infrastructure on top of. So, I mean, what don't kill a honey badger makes it stronger. And that's pretty evident here.
Yeah, I did was thank you for the kind words. And to your point about holding your own keys, that's another wonderful part of being Bitcoin only. We're a non-custodian service. We refuse to hold people's keys and Bitcoin for them. It's dollars in, Bitcoin out. You need to have your own Bitcoin wallet. We'll teach you how to do it. We'll gladly do that. But you need to hold your own keys. That's part of our values that we want to kind of force out amongst Bitcoin users.
Wow, this is hardcore, man. I mean, you're living it. What you preach, you're living. I mean, control your own private key and only Bitcoin. So is this? I mean, I mentioned this on my show, I think yesterday, and I mentioned the Bitcoin Magazine example also. It seems like there is a little bit of a trend, I guess, among the hardcore to go back to Bitcoin. Just forget about these altcoins type of thing. Could we see this growing, do you think, Benny?
Yeah, absolutely. I think now is the opportune time for these kinds of moves. So Bitcoin maximalists out there that have been talking about the values and the reasons why they have this line of thinking. This is the time to really start making moves, because people that jumped in 2017 got bombarded with so much information, and a lot of it was bad. And let's be honest, like if I got in 2014 and there was a lot less noise, a lot less fluff, and it was easier to kind of decipher what was important and what wasn't. And so coming into the scene in 2017, you have ICOs and altcoins and splits and forks and all this stuff happening. How could somebody who's just trying to wrap their head around the idea of what the benefits of the Bitcoin blockchain are, decipher between that and all of the other 2,000 coins on the market? And so we want to make this move now, because a lot of people, I think, were hurt last year because they were promised that this is the next Bitcoin. This is the next Bitcoin. There is no next Bitcoin. Bitcoin is Bitcoin, and this is the revolution.
Yes, Bitcoin is the next Bitcoin. Pound that like button. Christian mentioned something about the honey badger. Yeah, man, Bitcoin is the apex predator. Okay, let us go to Anders, because he's got a lot. First of all, when Anders was putting on the events in Century City, you could only speak about Bitcoin. He's had this rule for quite some time. There were no altcoin speakers. We talked, but you could mention a fork because that was off of Bitcoin, but no altcoin. So what do you think about all this, Anders? You've just heard about Benny's project, and
yeah, I only like a Bitcoin in this space as a money, a so-called crypto money or whatever. I only like Bitcoin. I don't like any of the others because this is a winner takes all game. Clearly, Bitcoin has so many huge advantages of being first. It has the best developers, by far the best brains. It's not been sold as a way of the creators raising funds for themselves. It was created and put out there as a science project, and it just attracted all the talent and has all the momentum and all the network effects, and tech wise is just so far ahead of the rest, and anything else seems like it's something to enrich the founders, pretty much.
Yes. So you're keeping it real with the Bitcoin. All three of these dudes. Now in a second, Anders is going to talk about where he's working now, his new job, because this is during the so-called crypto winter. He gets a job at a place in LA. We're going to talk about that in a second. But someone sent £2. His name is Crypto Poet. He sent this. I don't know if I can even read this. He had £2 in the super chat. And he said, someone get there, and he uses another word for penis out, liven up the show. Well, dude, I'm glad that you think this panel is a bunch of attractive men. They are, but no one's gonna plop it out for you, dude. But I thank you for the £2. And you said liven up the show. Dude, look at this energy, man. This show is as live and as hype as you can get. And dude, it's all natural. Seriously, people, eat healthy, be healthy. So let's go into healthy Southern California here. What is up with Bitcoin IRA, Anders? Tell us.
All right. Well, before I go into that, you touched on the meetup before. I mean, it was the whole reason for me starting the meetup, summer of 2017. I met Tone Vays and hung out with him at some conference. He was sitting on a panel in July, and I was talking to different people, and they were all about all these different altcoins and how they diversify it, and I was just thinking, oh man, we really need to educate people of why that might be a mistake, and why it's important to look at Bitcoin, is why it's important to educate yourself before you make investment decisions. And that's why I started the meetup. So it was about Bitcoin only. I didn't want anyone coming from outside with the ICOs and wanting to sell that, and it still is to this day. Although, as a little comment on that, people were a lot more interested in going to a meetup when the price is high. When the price is low, you can put on a great show, spend 10 hours arranging it, and 8 people show up. So I don't do as many meetups right now, but surely that will come back. All right, to Bitcoin IRA. I really like and prefer to work with my passion. Back in '95, I read a newspaper article on the internet, and I was like, man, I got to work with the internet. So I started working with the internet from '96. I created my first internet company, and have been working with the internet until to this day, still am. And then I read an article on a Bitcoin in 2011. That was the famous first time where you disregard it, unfortunately. I thought it sounded like some kind of computer game where miners found new coins, and that did not sound like real money. It sounded like World of Warcraft or something like that. Then in 2016, I came across it again. That time it took me, I don't know, 10, 15 seconds to go, man, this is it. And then the next 3 days, just from morning till evening, I was just studying Bitcoin on YouTube, Wikipedia. Came across your show, Adam. Been watching you since that time, more than 2 years ago. Then recently a friend of mine suggested, Anders, why don't you look for a job here in US? I think you'll like it. I'm like, I only want to work with Bitcoin, nothing else. He said, okay, come to my computer. I'll make a search. And up came Bitcoin IRA. And I said, I know that company. I'd be happy to work for them. Essentially, Bitcoin IRA is the United States and therefore also the world's first solution of people or for people to buy cryptocurrencies in their retirement accounts, which means their IRAs and their 401ks. Which gives you a huge tax deduction, basically, right? Because you don't pay money or tax on the money that you deposit, and any trading back and forth you have in the account until the day that you retire and take out the money is without any tax on it. That's what we do here, and what I'm doing is I'm heading up a new department which is focused on enterprise clients. So we are targeting like financial advisors, certified public accountants, wealth managers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, where we offer a private label solution so they can put their company logo on it. And we support, like we have the rails, they run on our rails, and they basically have it as their product, but we are running the technology behind it. And we have we just launched a 24/7 self-trading platform, so people can sit and do their trading anytime, just like any other exchange, really. But that's a new thing for us. One thing that differentiates us, I guess, is that we still have the phone support and email support, which is a whole lot easier to get through to than if you try to get through to Coinbase, I can guarantee you. Then we've also launched digital gold now. So, it's an alternative to a stable coin, I guess you could say. I mean, personally, I love Bitcoin. I believe that that's the long-term, decade from now replacement of gold, really, as store value. But if we have a big crash and different assets go down, that might be able to work as a stable coin. And then something new, the last thing I want to mention is a Saver IRA, where people from as little as $100 fixed monthly, they can transfer that from their checking account, savings account, and that goes straight into an IRA, into whatever they want to buy in their account with us. So yeah.
Wait, do you guys offer the instant Bitcoin buys into the IRA every single month when you get paid? Is that something you guys offer?
Yeah, exactly. So this is the Saver IRA, which is like just about to be launched. We've already mentioned it in our newsletter here 2 days ago. So it's like days away, as I understand it. It's not a product that I personally sit with, but it's here in December, I understand, where you could, anywhere from $100 up to $500 a month, you could send it directly into your IRA Saver account with us, Bitcoin IRA Saver account, and then it buys that whatever percentage into different cryptos that you like. I mean, you and I would probably put 100% in Bitcoin. Other people might have another strategy, but yeah, I think that's a yes to your question.
All right. One thing, did you mention it? Well, is there an Ethereum IRA too you guys do or something?
No, I mean, the company is called Bitcoin IRA, but Ethereum is here as an option if people want to buy that. You can buy Ethereum. You can buy 8 different coins. I mean, my attitude in what I believe is, what I like, but other people like other things. Who am I to say that I'm wrong? All right,
Now, and again, this is you're in Los Angeles. I mean, it's not some far away exotic place. People, you can get a job in the space, in the USA. It is, and obviously they're growing. So if they're hiring, they hired you. So that's good.
Yeah, if I can say that, I think, and that's been my experience throughout my career, if you call it that. If you really have a passion for something, invest your time in it. Like I spent the last 2 years, I've spent a lot of time without making money in Bitcoin, just because I love it, just because I have an interest for it. I've been educating myself, with you, with Tonebase, with Vortex, other sources, reading news. Francis as well. I totally agree. A great guy, huge knowledge, and you have to do that and educate yourself and build yourself up as an asset, and then later you can capitalize on that. And then having a sales and marketing background and having now, the Bitcoin knowledge, it was a great fit for Bitcoin IRA, I guess, to hire me. And that's the way don't ask, what others can do for you first. You got to put in an effort, and think about adding value, and then you will find a place, even in the Bitcoin industry, even though price is down and whatever.
Dude, this is great. This is a true example. All these guys are true examples of being in motion here. They are really getting into Bitcoin beyond just holding the Bitcoin. It is very, very interesting, and I'm glad to have him on. Benny, do you have any questions for Anders? Any comments on what he's doing?
Sorry, what were the limits you were saying? Monthly limits that people can send over to the IRA.
All right. So on the IRA Saver product, it matches what the law is for how much you can put into an IRA, which is up to $6,000 at the moment. I believe next year it's going to go up a little bit. However, if you currently are sitting with an account in another IRA, which is $300,000, $500,000, $100,000, whatever, which happens on a regular basis, people can roll that over to us. If you move that value into Bitcoin, which is maybe near bottom, that may be a good idea. Not an advice, clearly. And diversification between stocks and Bitcoin might be a good idea as well. But so if it's an IRA that is already created and it has gone up in value, that can be rolled over, and then there's not this limit. But if it's something new that you're doing, I believe that is the law, that there's that $6,000, just so that people don't take too much advantage of the great tax benefit that it is.
Awesome.
All right. Any other Bitcoin IRA thoughts from any of you guys before we move on here? Because I know there's a lot of people that have IRAs out there. They've asked questions. I've been pretty neutral in the whole IRA thing, because I don't have an IRA. I don't even get into those things. But I know some of you are already into it, so this is something you can play with there. And Anders is linked to below. And we might eventually have the guy just have a show talking about only Bitcoin IRA. The guy in charge over there might come on the show one of these days. So we're working on that, as I know there are some traditional investor types out there and everything. All right. So thank you, Anders, for telling us about what you're doing over there. And it is exciting. It is exciting that you got a new job in the space. Benny's starting a new project in the space. It's awesome. But so let's go back to what we were talking about beforehand. We're going to talk a little altcoin business here. And these guys are obviously really Bitcoin firsters. I call them that. They can call themselves Bitcoin maximalists, but Bitcoin is their prime concern here, which is great. Which I'm a Bitcoin firster also. So there are tweets going on out there that I have read that have referred to, like, some people are buying altcoins on the cheap right now because they think the same. There's going to be an altcoin bull again. And people are like, be careful with that. I'm thinking, and again, I only say to buy Bitcoin, but I don't think we've had our .com bubble moment in this space yet. I really don't. I think there's going to be a bigger bubble. They're calling this a bubble. I think there's going to be a bigger one day. And I do think this is cyclical. I think there are enough people who are naive and who want to have the next Bitcoin that some altcoins, they will pump again. I wouldn't be surprised in the future if there's going to be a bigger altcoin pump. So what I'm asking is, Benny, are altcoins dead, or are we going to see this all happen again?
No, not yet. I think you're right. It's cyclical, and there's in Canada they did some polls here, and they got some numbers. Roughly 5% of people have held at any point some cryptocurrency of some sort, which is probably high for most countries. But 5% of global population, if that were blanket across the globe, which it's not, that's really low. and there's a lot of growth to come over time. And the thing is, every person that gets into the space has to go through a very steep learning curve and make a lot of mistakes. It's very much a case of baptism by fire, and a lot of people will dive into whatever the flavor of the week is. I do think, though, a lot of the coins that were top 10 this past 2017, I think that the ones that manage to kind of stick around near the top may hit new highs when it comes to price in dollars, but I don't think that they'll ever re-hit their all-time high in Bitcoin. And my number one example of this is Litecoin.
Oh.
If you think that everybody looks at 2017 and goes, wow, it was insane for Litecoin. It went to like $300 and something. That must have been the biggest run it ever had. It was not, because the bubble in 2013, Litecoin was between 4 and 5% of a Bitcoin. The all-time, the peak in 2017, Litecoin was between 2 and 3% of a Bitcoin. It achieved barely half of its previous all-time high, and everybody thought it was incredible. But had you just held Bitcoin, you would have been way better off. So,
Great point. I think it's a great point, and you gotta value your wealth and your other assets in Bitcoin, and that's exactly what you did there. I totally agree.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just to add on to that, Litecoin's a good example. I think XRP is an even better example. Ripple coin, when it got to like $3, that even at that point, it had not beaten its all-time high from 2013 against Bitcoin. So,
Dude,
I mean,
I'm almost vomiting that you even mentioned Ripple on this show.
well, people need to learn.
Adam said no swearing.
Yeah, I said that exactly. You just no, but value your wealth in Bitcoin. But you get tricked by these dollar amounts a lot. You really do. It's more than just a saying. You gotta definitely value. And I thought, Benny, you were gonna bring up Ethereum. I mean, is Ethereum going to be worth 12% of a Bitcoin again?
No. I shouldn't say never, but I very much, I find it highly improbable that would happen again. And if anything, I kind of get the feeling that the next bubble, you may see some assets that are side chains of Bitcoin that end up being kind of the next, more or less like alt or ICO bubble, is people creating assets that are tied to Bitcoin. I think there's going to be two things, because they're looking into security tokens, like actual securities, which I think will just be more of a gimmick, because it's not like the SEC is going to be all hunky dory with the idea of people trading their stocks like person peer to peer. I don't think that's going to be a-okayed or anything. But I think in response to having to be a licensed security if you're tokenized, there's also going to just be blatant, like, hey, we're a project, we're listing a straight up illegal security, and we're anonymous, and you can buy into it if you. I feel like you're going to get a lot of that happening as well. I think it's just going to be completely polarized next time around, where it's like, oh yeah, these are the legal ones and these are the illegal ones, and it's just black market.
All right, I want to when we're talking about altcoins, something that I sort of wanted to bring up because it's been in the news lately, and I'll toss this over to Christian. You can speak more about anything about altcoins if you want to, but what's up with this SV Bcash thing? I've tried to kind of block it out, and then I heard yesterday SV was worth more than a Bcash, and I mean they capitulated really. I mean they instituted replay protection. I don't think it's much of a war anymore, but there's a lot of people that get their jollies out of a Bcash doing poorly, and dreams of Rocket Man Wu going bankrupt. Any thoughts on that, Christian?
I think SV is just the beginning of the end of Bitcoin Cash and potentially its backers. Those people had massive amounts of power and clearly did not understand what Bitcoin was, or did not want to accept what it was becoming. So they tried to change it, and we saw who won. So I mean, I don't know how else you can break down the drama. I think it's been overplayed already. The day of, I had to just turn off, like delete Twitter from my phone and just not look at it because it was not like it was triggering. It was just annoying. Like I go to Twitter for like interesting conversation. And it was, who cares? The hash word didn't matter. There's already 2 coins. Like, I don't know what to say about that. But wider view of altcoins, I actually have a different perspective than most Bitcoiners on altcoins. I actually think that they're very beneficial to Bitcoin, even though they are not a good investment. So I think it's really important to say, okay, these things are a good investment or not a good investment. And then once you've covered that, now how do we look at them without buying them, right? So I don't have to buy an altcoin without being interested in what it's doing. And I think that, there's 2 very decentralized and very robust things in this space. One is Bitcoin by itself, very decentralized, very robust. And then the other is all the altcoins combined. And I like to call that the Hydra of shit. And you questioned, are altcoins going to die? Hell no. The Hydra of shit is incredibly decentralized and incredibly robust and very confusing. People think that's going to pump. It probably will pump. I mean, it's inevitable. A lot of Bitcoin maximalists say that the altcoins are inevitable. I agree with that. Again, don't think that's a good investment. None of this is investment advice, but I do think it's interesting and it's just reality. So, if people can print tokens, I think Benny's example of anonymous ICOs, I think that is for real. And I think that that's super cypherpunk and that's super interesting. So might not be a good investment. They might all be scammers, but it's really interesting to me. So
do you foresee more 51% attacks on these altcoins?
Definitely.
Okay, because you wanted to talk. I know you wanted to talk about the mining and everything like that. I mean, before we talk about that, do you guys have any thoughts? Anders, I didn't ask you about altcoins and what we've been talking about.
Yeah, sure. The way I look at the altcoins is I'm not so positive. I don't think that they bring anything tech-wise to the table that Bitcoin learns from. That nothing has been implemented in Bitcoin that came from any of the altcoins. That's just a fact, unless something happened the last 24 hours I didn't hear about. One thing I will say is that as a maximalist, I've from the beginning been very skeptical. However, that's why I defined it before as like the money cryptocurrencies, because I think that there will be some, like, from the beginning I was very negative when I heard the word utility tokens, but there are going to be, I believe, some utility tokens that will have a usefulness and will have a potential. And I think the distinction here is the ones that are not sold for money, which means they're not sold for Bitcoin or Ether or whatever. But for instance, a project like BISC, which is a decentralized exchange, which probably a lot of people have heard about by now. Otherwise, it is one of the leading decentralized exchanges. It hasn't sold its tokens, which, by the way, are not traded yet, for money. They are not trying to raise funds. However, anyone that have held out on the project have been promised X amount of tokens that once it's actually running, they will be given these tokens. And then the way they will get a value is that if you're using the exchange, then either you can pay with Bitcoin or you can save a lot of money by paying with a BISC token, which means you will go and buy up the BISC token. So this is a way of, you could say, delayed gratification from the people who contributed to the project, and then they will be paid by future users. I think that's a lot safer in terms of you don't have investors sending money that cannot be reversed and people can just disappear to somewhere unheard of with all the originally investments, because there's no one investing in this. Only people who are developers or somehow can contribute to the project invest their time, right? So there's no one stealing or taking funds. I think there's a use case there. They're not trying to be money because they're never going to be a unit of account, a medium of exchange. It's not going to be equity either because it's not a stock in a company. So it's like it's a new area. It's the way I see it, that has that is on its way in the world of something that has value, or whatever you can call it.
All right, this is an interesting take you have on this. Benny, any closing thoughts on what we've been shouting around here?
I just have had my popcorn out all week, just taking in the what's the alternative ticker for Bcash now? BAB.
Oh, BAB, yeah, that's one.
BAB and BSV duking it out. It reminds me of watching those two coins duke it out. Seems to me like watching two homeless guys in an alley have a knife fight, so you get to see who gets to sleep behind the nice dumpster. Like either way, it's a terrible outcome. So it's crazy to watch. But it's a little bit it's nice because we get to also watch and learn from it. As outsiders looking in, the people that decided to split away and decided and then still had contention between them, we get to see what a hash war looks like. We get to see the various attacks that they're playing out on each other. It is a good learning experience, but one in which you can also ingest a lot of popcorn. So I'm having a good time. We
get to learn about centralization of coins when there's a figure, when there's a leader, and what they dictate and what they say, how that affects the market. I mean, there's some interesting things. To me, it's just two altcoins right now doing some wild, wacky things, and one of them has quite a centralized loudmouth of a leader out there. So whatever. There's still people saying that, BSV is going to be the next Bitcoin. I mean, come on. It's the flavor. It's not even the flavor of the month. It's like the Oakland Raiders of the month. I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, okay. Christian, what is let's talk about some mining. You wanted to talk about mining.
I mean, I just think that every time people talk about mining in the mainstream media, they get it completely wrong, whether it's the environment or the death spiral. No one is applying critical thinking to mining. So I think that that's something that we just need to harp on, as, Bitcoiners and people who believe in it. We got to harp on why mining is important, why mining is going to bring about the green revolution, why being electricity police, you don't do that anywhere else. Why mining? There's so many things that you can talk about with mining. It's just important to talk about it. So, I would love to hear what Benny and Anders have to say about the death spiral and all the reoccurrence of this FUD. Yeah, go for it, guys.
All right, I'll be happy to jump in first. I think definitely it's a total misunderstanding when we see the difficulty rate drop, and then people think then that's going to be a death spiral and end of Bitcoin. I mean, naturally, some miners might be shut down as the reward has less fiat value because they have to pay their bills in fiat value, but that just adjusts. And if Bitcoin drops 50%, mining might go down by 50%. It's not like it's going to continue down. When enough miners have been shut off, then all of a sudden it's actually really attractive to be mining. And still, at the end of the day, you can take all the servers from all government agencies in every single country in the world, all of Microsoft servers, all of Google servers, all of Facebook servers, all of Amazon servers, put them together, try and attack Bitcoin, and still they would only have like 1/10 of 1% of the hash rate that the Bitcoin mining network has. So it doesn't even like put it at danger. There's nothing there.
Right. Yeah, do you mind? I wanted to comment on this as well. A lot of people that are spouting this death spiral talk. Well, first of all, did they even write new articles, or did they just slap a new date on the ones from 2015? But regardless, people are assuming that all miners are running their operations from the standpoint of putting out money to pay for their electricity to then mine Bitcoin. But in reality, like in my home province, there are miners that are utilizing mining to help defer a cost that they're incurring through their business. So what I mean is there are, in Alberta, there's a lot of natural gas. And so when you have an excess of natural gas and you cannot unload it on the market, normally they used to just flare it. They just burn it. That's illegal now because it pollutes the environment. So they now have there.
Wait, you there, Ben? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, did I cut out? Sorry.
Yeah, you cut out. You're getting all excited.
Yeah, I'm so excited. But so natural gas, if there's an excess, they have to dispose of it responsibly, and that incurs a cost. Well, now a lot of people dealing in natural gas will take the excess, funnel it into mining rigs, and now be making money instead of losing money. So it could go to $10 and they would still be at a net positive because they're deferring the cost of disposing of the natural gas.
Yeah, we met that dude at the.
Yeah.
I mean, what's his name? Steve. Yeah, he's a cool guy.
Yeah, upstream.
Yeah, upstream. There you go. All right. So yes. So the FUD with the mining, it's so 2015, and I love what you said that they're slapping a new date on there. It's all cyclical, people. We've seen this FUD before. All right, so we're getting close to the end of the show here. Everyone's going to bring up their things that were left out, story of the week type of stuff, whatever you want to say. Christian, you first.
Oh man, I was just trying to think of it.
All right, then we can skip. We'll get back to you.
Come back.
Anders, anything that was left out of the show? Anything you want to talk about?
Yes. One thing I could probably think of a lot, but one thing is I retweeted on my Twitter. It's 4 tweets down. You can find it. It's a tweet from Bill Fuddle _wallet. A really nice a graph that shows the price of Bitcoin and then the months till next halving, which really, because you just spoke about cycling at this graph. It's a fantastic graph. Maybe I should try and do screen share. There it is. Can you see it?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, so if you look at this, then we're starting at 2011, then we are right now obviously here close to the end of 2018, and then you see different colors here. And when it's red, there's 40 months until the next halving, and when it's dark blue, we're just in front of the halving. Now, if you look at the 2 previous times where there has been a sort of end of a bear market, then first it was about 5 months approximately. Then the price started going up. Then the next time in 2000, around the end of 2015, it was more like 11 months, maybe 10, 11 months. So there's this clear pattern of, it seems, not a technical analyst, but between when the halving is and how the price operates. And if it continues that people foresee that the halving is going to have a positive effect on the price, then maybe next time it won't be 10, 11 months, but it'll go, from that 6 months to 10, 11 months to like 14 months. And if that is the case, then it's actually in the beginning of the next year. But it's definitely not financial advice, because that could be way off. I just like the graph. It's so colorful, and I like the pattern.
Hey man, I'm into looking into these cyclical aspects of cryptocurrency. We shall see how it will play out. Pound that like button, as I say. Benny, thoughts, conclusionary thoughts, things that were left out, anything?
I guess all I'll say is if maybe I'll just do my little shill here to check out a video. Francis did his chat about kind of our values and what's driving us in our kind of Bitcoin maximalism ethos. We had an event here in Calgary just the other night, and Adam, I'll send that link to you, but you can find it on YouTube if you search Bull Bitcoin launch announcement. And it's just like a little a little announcement chat that he had, and he outlines kind of his history in being in Bitcoin. and what drives him, and kind of what our values, and you know, the values of being maximalist, and having skin in the game and things like that. He goes through it all. So it's a good listen, and he takes some jabs at Coinbase and BitPay, and it's a good time. So you should check it out. Awesome.
I'm looking forward to hearing more about bull Bitcoin and just the cool things going up in Canada. This is I'm glad you guys are debuting, talking about it like on my show first, or one of the first. So we'll hopefully Francis will come on Sunday or Monday or something. We'll talk more about this. Christian, you wrap it up now, baby.
Yeah. So wait, quick question for Benny. Are you guys going to offer services in other countries outside of Canada anytime soon, or just Canada?
We are focusing on Canada right now. We want to make sure our market, because right now what we're experiencing is companies like Coinbase and BitPay coming here and not having any interest in the actual market. They're just kind of imposing whatever they threw together in Silicon Valley, and they're like, yeah, this is good for everybody. It's not what we want, and we're gonna give them the boot. So we'll see about that later. But right now, Canada, we're Canada centric.
All right. All right.
Yeah.
So Christian, thoughts, your conclusionary thoughts.
Yes. So simple conclusionary thoughts. I think that a lot of people think about buying Bitcoin the wrong way. They think I need to get as much as I possibly can, or I need to get as much at the lowest price and then sell it at the top and then repeat. Like, I feel like that is the wrong way, or a less productive way of thinking about it. Adam really kind of taught me how to think about it, which is like, consider like, what portion do you need? And, you know, work your way to that portion. You don't have to ever put yourself in position to, you know, wreck yourself. Just, you know, have a strong hand, and have some, I guess, have some conviction in what you're buying. But really, if you want to do your calculation on how much Bitcoin you really need, you know, just take 21 million, divided by the population of the planet, or divided by the amount of people who have access to the internet, and then you decide what percentage would you need to retire, and then from there go about acquiring that much, rather than you know, getting as much as you can, or getting it and trading it and doing all this swaps. You don't need to expose yourself that much. Just get as much as you need, and, you know, at that point you can focus on other things. You've essentially made your bet in Bitcoin.
A very good way of wrapping it up there. I mean, it's funny right now during this so-called, well, it's a fiat bear market. We have people impulsively putting out on Twitter, oh, clearly hold is a bad strategy. I mean, there's no deferral of gratification. There's no long-term thinking. It's wait it out, people. That's what hold is all about. That's like the basic concept behind it. It's not something that's going to pay off tomorrow. That's not, but again, some people cannot grasp that still to this very day on Twitter. They're prominent people right now saying, one of you guys retweeted something like that of someone, you know, poking fun at someone who was saying that hold is a terrible strategy. Hold is the long-term strategy there, people. You think about your retirement. Think about what Christian was saying. You gotta plan down the road with this Bitcoin thing. It's not a magical elixir that's going to save you tomorrow. It's changing the world. It's changed, and in the long run, we're going to look back and see how much it changed the world 10 years from now. I mean, again, could be bigger than the internet. So I'll leave you with that, dude. Thank you, everyone, for being on the show today. Check out, again, the links below. You can follow them on Twitter. They're in motion here behind it. They're chatting with each other. Things are getting together here too behind the scenes. I'm always excited to have it in motion, people. So happy Hanukkah, everybody. This was the sixth night is coming up tonight. So light your candles and everything. Shabbat Shalom, all that. Pound that like button. I'm Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister, Disrupt Meister. Remember to subscribe to the channel, like this video, share this video. Check out the links below. Have fun, everyone. See ya. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. All right.